All right. So I looked into my character. I only got probably like 16 minutes after I edit this down of footage. So I want to go and I realized I've changed a lot in here compared to when you last saw. It has a lot more code. So I'm gonna have to try and break it down and explain what I did. Cause that's the funny thing is I work ahead so I don't have to figure things out on the spot or on the fly. But then the problem is because it's been a few months now since I last worked on this, I have to remember why and what it was before so I can explain it. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and work on creating the ladder, and I'll show you how I did that. And we'll do that from scratch. We'll start with the ladder, and I'll probably save the actual things that I changed for the character to work for the next part, because that'll get a little bit confusing if I don't explain it very well. So now let's go to my folder. We're going to go to my BP. And I created this ladder BP. And we're going to create it from scratch. We're going to recreate it. We're going to go to blueprint class. And excuse me. Blueprint class. We're going to call it actor. And we're going to call it ladder BP 2. We're going to just call it 2. Keep it nice and simple. Open that up. Of course, it opened up over here. Boom. All right, so one thing we're going to need to add here in the viewport is that we need to add our actual ladder because we have one and as a static mesh. So right here, ladder. Boom. Static mesh. Ladder. Which one did I use last time? I think it was this one. Because there's different kinds of ladders. This one. No, it definitely wasn't that one. And no, that one was too long. So, yep, it was the middle one. So, we need a ladder. And what I did was I added collision boxes to basically trigger whenever you overlap these boxes. Because it doesn't necessarily need to be if you only hit this part of the ladder, because you might have to get extremely close to it to trigger it. But there may be a time where I want you to get maybe like this close and it just gravitates you to the ladder and pulls you up, or you can go up and down as you please. So we're going to do that. We're going to get a collision box, collision, and I did 2 different collision boxes. I did a middle collision and a top collision. And the reason being is that for the top collision, if you're at the top of the ladder and you're going up, once you hit that box, it should now trigger you to go to the top or start searching for the top. Or also if you're going down from a ledge, if you hit that box, it should trigger you to gravitate to the top of this ladder and start climbing down. So that's the way that I did it. So now we're going to do another one. We're going to duplicate this. Actually, we're going to size it correctly. And what was the settings that I used for mine? I used 16, boom, by 15, boom, by 100, boom. And my location was 95. And of course, I have the old one. I'm looking at it now, so I can kind of speed through this. Then the top collision, we're going to duplicate this middle one. Duplicate, we're going to call it top collision. Boom. And that one is going to be 205. And then the height is just going to be 10. And as you can see, the top collision is just a little bit higher than the ladder, because there may be a time where you're on the ledge, because the ladder is going to stop. If I could slow my camera down just a little bit slower, the ladder is going to stop like right here on the ledge. But so this part is going to go over the top. So if you ever walk over it, it's going to gravitate you to the ladder. Just that easy. And then we did this. And I always like to use these right here because they help me to keep track of where everything is. We're going to do another static mesh. Not a child of that. And this one is just going to be rename point cone 2. Boom, boom. And we just need a cone. That's all. Just a small little cone. See, I like to use cones depending on what it is. But I like to use cones for whenever I need to have an actor spawn something or move something somewhere in the world. Because although this is here right now, when I'm in the game, I'll show you, just completely show you what I'm trying to say. When I put this in the game, compile, save. Let's say, for whatever reason, this actor is like a teleporting actor or whatnot. In the game, if I call in the blueprint to spawn something on this cone, in the game, I can just go to this cone and move it wherever I want to move it at. Like, however I want it to be. So it just gives me a lot of freedom in game. So that's why I like to use those cones if you ever see me use them in the future or any other tutorial series. Delete this. Let's go back to our... Of course, now that I need to get to it, I can't find it. Let's get back to our ladder blueprint 2. Boom. And a few variables we are going to actually need is we're going to need the top ladder boolean. And this one needs to be open. The I needs to be a public variable because this is something that needs to be changed in the game. When I set a ladder, it might not always be the top ladder. But whenever it's on that ledge, it's the top ladder. So that's going to be a public variable. And then we're going to add 2 more. We need a, float. We're going to call that lerp alpha turn. And I'll explain what this is in a second. And then we'll duplicate. Then we'll do proper Z rotation. And like I said, I'll explain all of these. And this one also needs to be public. It needs to be instance editable, as you can see up here. Either one, you either open the eye or you check it up here. Because this is something that is also going to change in the game. Because there's going to be times where, show you the example of what I'm saying now. For these ladders that are finished, the proper Z rotation is 0. If I put them on this side, it might either be 90, or this side might be -90 or whatever. So whatever your rotation is, you can just edit it right on the spot so you don't have to kind of figure it out in the blueprint. Let's get back open to our ladder BP2. And we're going to go into our event graph. So one thing we are going to need to do is we need to call these on collisions. So event on component begin overlap, and we need the other one as well. Top collision on component begin overlap. And what we're going to do for both is we're going to get class, and if that class is equal to key branch, boom, we're going to duplicate this again. Actually, first, if it does equal that, we're going to cast to Aki. That's our character. Boom, boom. And then we're going to duplicate Control D. I keep doing Control W. Other actor. Branch. Right here. Boom. And let's get this back open so I can see my reference. Back to ladder BP2. Boom, boom. And so what we're going to need to do is, in our character movement as the I key, whenever we begin overlapping with the middle collision, we need to set our character movement to flying. Where is it at? Get character movement. We're going to set movement mode. And we have to do flying so we can go up and down on the Z-axis. Flying. Boom. And as for the bottom one, it needs to do the same thing. So let's Control D, not Control W. I didn't need to do the cast again though. As I key, set movement mode flying. And actually there's one thing we need to do that's different. Hold on. Here's where it's going to be different. Branch. And we need to check if it's the top ladder. If it's the top ladder, then yes, we need to set it to flying, but we need to also have another, excuse me, custom event that we have to call, because that's also what we have to do. So boom, custom event, turn, player up. That's what we're going to call this one. And we're going to also duplicate D. We need another custom event. Turn player down. And you'll see what's going to happen in a second. So if that's false, turn player up. And for both, we need to do a player reference. So input player ref key. Boom. And we need to do that for this one as well. Add an input player ref. And that player reference is going to be, oh wait, no, I can't go from there. I can't go from there. Hold on, wait a second. Can't go from there. Has to go from here. There we go. All right, boom. And then if it's true, we set the movement mode to flying. And then from here, we're going to move it out here. Turn player down. And basically, we're trying to check and see if this top one is called, and we're going to have another condition to check as well. If it overlaps this top one first, it's going to rotate the player to get them to go down the ladder. But if they're going up, we're going to set it to where it doesn't even matter. So we'll check on that when we get to it. Let's go. Now we're going to go down to, we're going to do our turn player up first. So there's a lot of stuff we're going to have to set up. So first things first, we're going to have to check and see if our player is climbing. And if you see any variables that I'm using that you don't have set up in your character, just go into your character really quickly, which is for us, Aki. And I did this off camera. And then create that new variable climbing, which is do a plus and then make it a boolean. So we're going to call our climbing and branch. All right, so we're going to check if he's climbing already. If he is climbing, then we don't need to, if he's not climbing, then we're going to need to call our climbing transition, which is another boolean that I set here at the bottom. It's called climb transition. Basically, if he's already climbing and we already have it set to climbing, he doesn't need to go through the animation montage to get on the ladder anymore. So we're gonna do this, and I promise you this is gonna get super duper messy, and I apologize for it in advance. So climb transition, boom. Set climb transition true. We're gonna go down this rabbit hole first, and then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to, like I said, this is going to get really messy. We're going to disable our input. Because whenever we're doing that animation to where he's getting on or getting off the ladder, we don't want the player to be able to move or potentially throw it off in any kind of way. Boy, my son is coughing a lot. Okay. We're going to get our target. Oops, didn't drag it out right. Mesh. Get mesh. There we go. Get character mesh. Then we're going to get play montage. Then in play montage, we're going to do our climb. Oh, I did the wrong one too. Climb start. That one. That's the one we're supposed to do. I did the climb up ladder. Excuse me. Let's try it again. There we go. But you see, it didn't loop into that animation. It actually just went back to our idling one, which was not what we needed to do. But that's because we didn't ever change it or update it. So, excuse me, our play rate, which I set to 2 in my original one. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And you can, whatever looks best for you, however you want to do your play rate, is you can set it to whatever you want to.